Have you ever been right there, in the zone, coding away, ideas just clicking, and then you spot something in the code that really needs a cleanup, maybe a refactor,
Oh, yeah. Happens all the time.
and that thought just sticks. Knowing you should log it somewhere, but doing that means breaking focus, mentally switching over to Jira
Mm.
or whatever tool you used.
Totally. That mental context switch, it seems small, but it can properly derail your flow, can't it? It's surprisingly costly.
Absolutely. And, well, that's exactly the kind of friction the engineering team over at Planet Argon were facing. Their Ruby on Rails development
Oh,
agency, they kept running into technical debt, those bits of code needing improvement, but the actual act of documenting it,
hmm
that was messing with their daily rhythm.
exactly. That moving between VS Code, which is, well, where they live and breathe code,
Mm-hmm.
and their issue tracker, Jira. That switch, that was the bottleneck. Jira is great for organizing tasks, obviously, but the transition was the issue.
Right. So, okay, the mission for us today in this deep dive is to really get into how Planet Argon tackled this specific headache. We want to look at the solution they came up with, what impact it had day to day, code quality, and maybe pull out some useful insights for, well, anyone developing software, managing these kinds of
It
improvements.
sounds good. And we're drawing this mainly from their own write-up, right? A blog post they published called Managing Tech Debt with a Custom VS Code Extension.
That's the one. Okay, let's dig in then. What were the specific pain points? What was so bad about their old, manual way of doing things?
Well, looking at their post, they kind of boiled it down to three main things. First up was context loss.
Oh, okay.
So a developer spots something, maybe makes a mental note, keeps coding, then later, maybe end of the day, they go to create that Jira ticket. But the specifics, like which file exactly, what line number, the actual code snippet that was the problem, often that stuff was fuzzy or just missing.
Oh, I can totally picture that. You think you'll remember, but then an hour later, it's gone. Like you're trying to recall a dream, the details just evaporate.
Precisely. So that was number one. Number two was workflow disruption. Simple as that. Constantly having to jump out of VS Code where the debt was identified into the browser, log into Jira, create the ticket, paste things in. It just shattered their concentration.
Yeah, that mental gear shift. It takes time, sure, but it's
hmm
also draining, pulls you right out of the problem-solving mindset.
Absolutely. And the third thing they flagged was inconsistent documentation.
Mm.
Because there wasn't really a standard process, how technical debt got recorded varied a lot. Some tickets might be super vague, like refactor the user model. Others might have more detail, but there was no consistency. Made it really hard to compare issues or prioritize later on.
Okay, so kind of messy. Hard to manage systematically. Sounds like they needed a way to inject some order into that.
Exactly. And their answer is pretty neat, actually. They built their own custom VS Code extension. They called it Cherrybomb.
Cherrybomb. I like it. Okay, so how does this Cherrybomb thing work then? What's the magic?
Well, the core idea is simple. Capture the tech debt right there the moment you spot it without leaving the editor. It starts pretty subtly. There's an icon for it integrated right into the VS Code status bar.
Okay, so down at the bottom usually.
Yep. Always there, a constant reminder, but crucially, not annoying or in your face, just available.
Right. Unobtrusive. Makes sense.
So developer sees some code, thinks, ugh, this needs work. They just highlight that chunk of code
Okay.
and click the little cherry bomb icon in the status bar. And that's where the first bit of magic happens, automatic context capture.
Ah, this sounds key. What does it grab automatically? Tell me everything.
It instantly grabs the code you just highlighted, the full path to the file you're in, and the exact starting and ending line numbers for that selection.
Wow. Okay.
So boom, that context loss problem pretty much solved right there. No more trying to remember where that dodgy bit of code lived.
That is brilliant. It's like taking an instant perfect snapshot of the problem area.
Precisely. Then what happens next is Cherrybomb pops up an interactive window. It's technically a WebView form, but it appears right inside VS Code.
Okay, so still haven't left the editor.
Nice. Still haven't left. And this form has a few key bits. First, there's a drop-down menu listing all their active Jira projects.
Got it. So you can route it to the right place immediately.
Correct. Then you've got your standard fields, one for the Jira issue title, another for the description where you can add more detail about why it's dead. And importantly, it shows you a preview of the context that just captured the code, the file, the line, so you can double check it looks right.
Oh, that's good. A little sanity check before you fire it off. Avoids copy-paste errors, too, I guess.
Definitely. And then the final step, the real integration piece.
Yeah.
You hit submit on that form. Cherrybomb then talks to their Jira Cloud instance in the background, authenticates and automatically creates a brand new Jira issue.
Ah,
And that issue gets populated with everything, the
yeah.
title, the description, and all that automatically captured context. Plus, and this is smart, it automatically adds a specific label, like via Cherrybomb.
Oh, nice. So you can easily filter in Jira later and see everything logged this way.
Exactly. Makes tracking and reporting on this stuff much easier.
Okay, that sounds really slick. How did they actually get it onto their developers' machines? Was it in the main VS Code marketplace?
No, they kept it internal. They packaged it up as a VSIX file that's like the standard installer format for VS Code extensions.
Right.
And then they just shared that file internally using, a secure file sharing system. Easy for their team to install without needing public distribution.
Makes sense for an internal tool. Okay, so they built this thing, rolled it out. What happened next? What was the actual impact on the team day to day?
Well, the changes were pretty noticeable according to their posts. The biggest, most immediate win was basically the elimination of that context switching.
The original problem.
The original problem. Developers could log the debt right then and there without breaking stride, without leaving VS Code. That alone was huge for keeping focus, and it really shows something important, I think. Sometimes these seemingly small tweaks fixing one specific annoyance can have a really outsized positive effect on how people feel and how productive they are. It's that targeted approach.
Yeah, removing friction sounds like a massive productivity boost just from that.
For sure. And flowing from that, secondly, they saw a real improvement in the quality of the documentation.
Ah, because the context was always there.
Exactly. Every single ticket created via Cherrybomb automatically had the precise code snippet, the file path, the line numbers, no ambiguity. That meant the tickets were instantly more useful, more actionable.
Makes perfect sense. If you know exactly where to look, fixing it is just easier, faster.
Right. Even if someone else picked up the ticket weeks later, all the info they needed was right there. No guesswork. And this, in turn, led to enhanced prioritization. Well, because all the tech debt tickets logged this way were consistent and detailed, team leads could actually compare them effectively. They could make much better calls on what to tackle next based on real, concrete information, not just vague descriptions.
Better data driving better decisions. Classic.
Absolutely. And they sort of summed up the productivity gains in a few ways. Obvious time savings, right? Less time spent manually creating tickets.
Yep.
Also enhanced collaboration because these clear contextual tickets just made communication easier. Everyone was literally on the same page or same line number.
Right.
And an interesting side benefit, knowledge sharing. They found these detailed tickets actually became a useful resource for newer developers. Seeing specific examples of code flagged for improvement with context helped them learn the code base and understand best practices or areas needing attention.
That's a really cool, maybe unexpected benefit, like a living history of code improvement needs.
Exactly. And it's not like they built it and forgot about it. They're already thinking about version 2 or, what's next for Cherrybomb.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Always good to iterate. What sort of future plans do they have?
Yeah, they mentioned a few areas. One is just general feature expansion, things like adding more formatting options in that WebView form so descriptions can be richer, maybe use Markdown. Also integrating more Jira fields directly, things like setting fixed versions or adding other custom labels right from VS Code.
Okay, yeah, making that initial ticket creation even more complete.
Exactly. Then there are integration improvements. They're thinking about maybe connecting Cherrybomb to other internal tools they use. And Git integration is definitely on the radar.
Oh, how would that work?
Well, imagine if it could automatically capture the Git branch name you're working on when you log the debt. Or maybe even link the Jira ticket back to specific commits or branches later on. Stuff like that could add even more useful context.
Yeah, I could see how linking it to the version control would be powerful. Automate even more of the tracking.
Right, and just generally better error handling, making the whole experience smoother.
Sounds like solid next steps.
And the last bit is user-driven refinement. They're really committed to getting feedback from their own developers, using it every day. Finding out what works well, what still may be a bit clunky, and then using that feedback to tweak the UI, improve the workflow, that continuous loop.
Yeah, that feedback cycle is critical for any tool like this to really stick and be useful long term. Their whole experience with Cherrybomb really underlines that point they made. Small tools, big impact.
Exactly.
It's a great reminder that you don't always need some massive revolutionary platform change. Sometimes just fixing those little everyday workflow snags can make a huge difference.
Totally agree. They stressed how solving these very specific problems with focused, lightweight tools can seriously boost both productivity and code quality. By embedding this task logging tech debt right into the place developers already work, they didn't just save time or make better tickets, they actually reinforced their company's values around code quality and doing thoughtful refactoring. It became part of the natural workflow.
So the tool itself kind of nudged the culture in the right direction. More than just fixing a process, it embedded a principle.
I think that's a great way to put it. And they mentioned the success here has actually spurred them on to look for other little friction points in their processes that could benefit from a similar streamlined approach.
Cool.
They're also realistic, you know. They acknowledge Cherrybomb didn't magically solve every single challenge they have around tech debt,
Sure, no silver bullets.
but it's a really clear example of how effective these targeted improvements can be.
And it's worth remembering, too, that Planet Argon doesn't just do this internally. They mentioned working with clients like Walkenhorst's, I Will Teach You to Be Rich, Newspaper Club, specifically on managing technical debt.
That's right. So this isn't just an internal pet project. It ties into their core expertise they offer to others.
Which actually leads nicely into some potential questions people might have, things Planet Argon kind of anticipated in an FAQ section on their blog.
Yeah.
Like, okay, Cherrybomb is internal, but can clients get something similar?
Right, and like we touched on, while they don't sell Cherrybomb itself, the philosophy behind it, finding friction, building, or integrating lightweight solutions, that's absolutely part of how they work with clients. They might build a custom tool for a client, or recommend existing tools, or just help improve the client's process based on these principles.
Okay, so it's the approach, the mindset that's transferable. Makes sense. What about the kind of clients they typically help with this stuff?
They mention they often work best with companies that have Ruby on Rails applications that have been around for a while.
Legacy code bases, perhaps?
Could be legacy or just mature applications where the team wants to modernize, maybe tackle some accumulated debt before a big upgrade, that kind of thing. They bring that practical focus on finding and fixing the important stuff.
Got it. So established Rails apps looking to improve. And what about the benefits they've seen internally? Can we recap those?
Sure. Big ones were improved developer focus, definitely. More consistent documentation, which led to better collaboration and easier prioritization. And of course, less time wasted on the manual admin of creating tickets.
Pretty solid list of wins. And the final big question, just be crystal clear. Can I go download Cherrybomb? Is it public?
Afraid not. As we said, it's strictly an internal tool for Planet Argon right now, packaged as that VSIX for their own team. But they do explicitly say they build custom tools for clients. So while you can't get Cherrybomb off the shelf, you can potentially get Planet Argon to build your Cherrybomb, so to speak.
Right. The expertise is available, just not that specific product.
Yeah.
Good clarification. Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. Our deep dive into Planet Argon's Cherrybomb story really highlights, I think, the power of identifying a very specific point of friction that jumped between coding and logging debt and hitting it with a targeted, integrated solution.
Absolutely. Cherrybomb, their VS Code extension, clearly made a difference. Better productivity for the devs, much better quality documentation for the tech debt itself, and ultimately a better handle on managing and prioritizing those vital code improvements.
Yeah, bringing that documentation step into the development environment seems key. It killed the context switching, stopped info from getting lost, saved time.
And fostered better teamwork and even some learning opportunities. It's a great case study.
So maybe a final thought for you listening. As you think about your own work, your own team's processes, where are those little bumps? Those seemingly small but persistent points of friction that maybe cost more time and focus than you realize? What kind of cherry bomb equivalent could potentially smooth things out for you? Could a small focused tool unlock some unexpected gains in how you work or the quality you produce?
It's a good question to ponder.
Because while we looked at a specific tool for developers today, that core idea finding and fixing workflow inefficiencies with thoughtful, often simple solutions that applies pretty much anywhere, doesn't it?
Definitely. It's often those small adjustments that add up to a really significant impact over time.